At just 21 years old, Ainsley Costello is already a seasoned songwriter, blending deeply personal storytelling with the kind of irresistible hooks that stay with you long after the song ends. With a style that bridges heartfelt introspection and pure pop energy, she's quickly carving out a space that's all her own. And now Ainsley is gearing up to release her brand new album, Exless, a collection that promises to be her most honest and captivating work yet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Ainsley Costello. Good morning. Thanks for coming to talk with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're in Nashville, is that right?
I am, yeah.
You are? Okay. Well, I'm in Seattle. I just recently learned that you moved to Nashville from Seattle, is that right?
I did. I moved here about 20 minutes before the pandemic hit from Gig Harbor, actually.
Oh, from Gig Harbor. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, what part of Seattle are you in?
I've lived in all parts, but right now we're in Renton.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you performing in Seattle before you moved?
I was. Seattle is really where music started for me. Before we lived in Seattle, I say that I'm from Seattle because that's the place that I feel the most kind of soul connected to, but weirdly, it's the place that I've lived now the shortest amount of time. But I was actually born in Florida and we lived there until I was 11. And I took some singing lessons and stuff in Florida, but there wasn't really a great music scene, especially where I lived. And so then when we got to Seattle, my dad's also a musician. And so he found so many incredible bands to play with when we still lived in Seattle. At one point, he was in like 7 or 8 bands at once. And then I started playing around just the little coffee shops in Gig Harbor, and then I branched out to Tacoma, and then I had my first ticketed show ever at Club Sur in Seattle for sure.
Wow. Okay. Did I hear correctly? I know I was watching another interview and I thought you had mentioned that you were busking at Pike Place Market too.
I was. I still have on my first guitar case. It's covered in stickers. If you've never busked at Pike Place before, they give you, it's very fancy and official. They give you a piece of blue masking tape and they write your name on it and the time stamp that you're going to be playing. So I think mine says like 10:30 to 1 or something like that. And so I ripped it off and I got like the prime spot right in front of the bronze pig statue or the bronze bull statue, like right in front of where they throw the fish. And so I busked around Pikes a couple of times for sure.
Wow. How old were you when you were doing this?
14,
Oh my gosh.
15.
You know, it kind of strikes me that on a sunny weekend in Seattle, you could be playing for an audience bigger than would fit in the arena and that's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great way to look at it. I don't know if I ever looked at it myself, but definitely there's a million people always coming to and from and being in all the little nooks and crannies of Pikes. And so that is definitely one of my earliest music memories. And I also remember I made a killing on tips that day too. So,
Oh, I'll bet. I would have tipped you too. Yeah.
oh, thank you.
That's awesome. So what brought you guys to Nashville then?
Music brought me to Nashville. When I was 14 or 15, I started planting the idea of moving to Nashville in my parents' head because um, I'd been doing the as much as you can, or as much as a 13, 14-year-old young girl who writes songs in Seattle can, kind of doing the rounds, playing the coffee shops, playing Pikes, playing a couple of the bigger venues and just starting to get my feet wet. But, since Seattle is really where music started for me and I was already touring and traveling so much, like I was missing so much school to go play shows in LA, and then we were going to New York for stuff, and then we were going to Florida. And so I think it finally clicked for my parents when I think I made the business uh approach to it, and I was like, hey, so Nashville is like 8 hours from not every, but most of the major cities in the country, and just think about how easier our lives would be if we lived in Nashville. And I have the most supportive parents in the world. As I said, my dad is a lifelong musician. He went to LA in the 90s to do the same thing that I'm doing here, so it kind of runs in the family. And my mom is not a musician, but she's very creative in other ways, like graphic design, and she's always been my manager up until now. And I just am very blessed to have the best parents in the world who were like, you want to go to Nashville? Okay, you seem ready enough, but just because we're going to go to Nashville and you're going to turn 18 one day or you're going to turn 25 or whatever, doesn't mean that you're going to do this alone. And so when we finally moved to Nashville, we had made the family decision. We were here, we were going to hit the ground running. And then 2 weeks later, COVID shut everything down.
So what were
So
you doing during COVID? Were you like mostly online doing your performing?
So what I was doing during COVID was, so if you don't know, Nashville is kind of like the songwriting capital of the world. And a big part of the reason that I wanted to move here was because exactly of that. I'd been writing songs in my bedroom, and my first album, which was like super duper pop country, I wrote it by myself in my bedroom in Seattle. And then when we got to Nashville, I really hit the ground running with co-writing with other people, with other collaborators. And normally, most of that is supposed to be in person, but, it was a sign of the times. All of my first co-writes were on Zoom. All of my first kind of like songwriting NSAI meetings happened over Zoom. And so I really took that first year and a half while everything was shut down and nobody knew what was happening to just write my little heart out. And I think I really learned the beauty and the strength that writing in a sit down session with 2-3 other writers, and you don't get up for 3 hours until a song is finished. It taught me so much about songwriting, and I think it made me a better solo writer. And so that is what I was doing for the first couple of years of COVID. I was just writing, and trying to kind of figure out what my sound was, because as I said before, my first album came out when I was 15. It was very country, and my mindset behind that was, in Seattle, country's a novelty. Country's not something that you hear all the time. And then I got to Nashville and I was like, oh no, this doesn't make me different. So as I was writing, I was figuring out, oh my gosh, Paramore's from Nashville and Kings of Leon is from Nashville. And I can be something else in Nashville besides a country artist. So I really took the time to figure out how to songwrite with other people, and then also figure out artistically what I wanted to sound like and what I wanted to say.
Nashville strikes me as, about Seattle. When I was in my early 20s, Seattle was the place everybody was moving to. If you're a musician, you were moving to Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm amazed when I find out all the people that are in Nashville now. Henry Rollins is there. Jassy is there. Steve Allen from 2020 is there. And this is like a really wide range of artists,
Yeah.
so it's not just one type of music. And it's always been, like you said, a songwriting mecca. I want to talk about your songwriting. You are, how do I say this? You are clearly the youngest person that I have talked to for this show by like 30, 40 years. I'm not kidding.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be the exception.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is because you probably have written more songs than most of these guys that I've talked to that have been in the business for 30, 40, even 50 years. You've written over 250 songs?
Yeah, I think it might be over 300 at this point. I was trying to go back through my catalog. Yeah, it was an old stat. It was outdated. I'm trying to, side story. I'm trying to go through and catalog everything right now, because about a year or so ago, the cataloging company that I used went out of business. So then I lost it all and now I have to go back. But yeah, I think the count is over 300 now.
Oh my God. Okay. First question. How do you have time to do literally anything else?
I don't really have a social life.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that's it. That's the trade-off.
Yeah. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
I do, but the thing about, and I don't know if this is similar for other musicians, but for me at least, I think I have about 5 or 6 first songs. I think I could point to like the first like little paragraphs I was writing in my journal in 2nd grade, where you could see I was trying to rhyme things and I was being way too overdramatic. And then a couple of years later, you can see me start to put like 2 paragraphs together. And then when I was in middle school, you saw me start to put something to a ukulele. And so I think I would, now I'm trying to think about it, because I can point to like 3 songs that I at the time I concretely said, this is my first song. But I guess maybe the first one, I was going back through one of my old like elementary school journals the other day. I think I wrote a song about the pink boots I wore to school called My Pink Boots.
Hey, it's personal. Why not?
Exactly. She had something to say, 7-year-old Ainsley.
I love that. And if you'll pardon the comparison, and my kind of simplistic view of all this stuff, because I'm not a songwriter, but I remember when Taylor Swift first kind of blew up with Fearless. That was the first
Yeah.
album that I really, was really on the map for me, hearing her music. And I knew the songs were not meant for a middle-aged guy like me. They were not written for that. But what struck me is that she was a really good songwriter, and she was writing about
Yeah.
herself and her life. And like I
Hmm.
said, if you'll excuse the comparison, that's when I listen to your music, that's what strikes me as well. Your songs are very personal and authentic, and I mean, a lot of people write songs that are personal and authentic, but are not. It's almost like they write not to be played for other people, but you write songs that are definitely meant to be heard. I mean, damn, you know how to write a hook.
Thank you. That's the biggest compliment in the world, truly. And I think you exactly hit it on the head. I do try to write from a very personal and authentic place, but from the get-go, 90% of the time I am writing songs for public consumption because I know that there are other girls like me, or not even other girls, other young boys my age, or other non-binary people who are going through similar things that I'm going through. And one of my main ethoses, I don't know what the plural version of that word um, is to write the songs that I didn't grow up hearing because I know what it's like to be an 11, 12, 13-year-old girl listening to the radio and only hearing songs about love and heartbreak and being like, isn't there more to talk about than this, guys? Like, cool. But and I love love and heartbreak songs. I'm sure I'm gonna write those songs when I'm in that phase of my life. But right now where I'm at, I'm like, you know what? I'm having fun being like a single 21-year-old girl, and I am chasing my dreams and my career before I'm gonna be chasing a boy who doesn't give two insert adjective here's about me. But thank you for the Taylor comparison. It truly is. I mean, I think everybody can hear it. I think Taylor is kind of the prereq for a lot of girls my age. Like I think she's kind of everybody's main influence. She's kind of the cornerstone, and then we find all of these other little bands and artists that we pull from their artistic identities. And I think we're all kind of mosaics of the people who have inspired us because we take a little something from Taylor, and then we take a little something from Paramore, and then we take a little something from Carly Rae Jepsen, and it all just comes together. But thank you. It really is a wonderful compliment.
Oh no, I'm always impressed when I hear a good song. A good song is a good song. I don't care what genre it's in.
I
Um,
love that you say that. My dad always says that too. A good song is a good song.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you were talking about writing about things besides heartbreak, one of my uh, favorite songs that I've been listening to of yours is "Someone, Someone."
Oh, thank you. I love that one.
There's more to life than being someone, someone. There's more to life than falling in and out of love. Sometimes it's nice to be someone's plus one, but there's more to life than being someone, someone.
I love that you're able to look beyond. Exactly, it's like there's more to life than heartbreak, and I love that you have more to talk about besides that. I mean, how much of your learning or really honing your craft in Nashville has contributed to all that, do you think?
I think every write I've ever had in Nashville, good, bad, indifferent, has contributed to the way that I collaborate with other people and the way that I just write in general now. Because, I remember when I first got to Nashville when I was 15, 16, and I was starting to write with people. I remember, and I don't really blame anyone for this. I think this is kind of just a symptom of Nashville. And I think people who are older and wiser and have the seniority and they come in and they are told, hey, you're going to write with this 15, 16-year-old girl, that I think people automatically think young, fun love songs or young, fun breakup songs. And so I understand what it's like to come in with an idea. And this is still something that I experience today, where I understand what it's like to come in with an idea that's almost niche in a way that's like, hey, it's hard to maintain long distance friendships, or hey, it's hard to do this, or it's hard to do that. And it's a very specific idea. And then it gets turned into a vague breakup song or a vague love song. And while I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I think because I've been through so many writes where people kind of just assume and they see, because people in Nashville, people definitely hear with their eyes. They see blonde hair, blue eyed girl who plays guitar and they think, oh, Taylor Swift, let's give her some Taylor Swift-esque ideas. But I'm also a very hook oriented writer and I love bringing in ideas to the right. Like I am always the like anally over prepared writer. I'm bringing in like 3-4 ideas because I feel like my songs are the most authentic when the original seed or spark comes from me. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I've been through a lot where people kind of assume or project a certain idea or what they think Ainsley Costello should be with the songs. And it's taken a long time to kind of learn how to gently and politely push back on that and say, hey, I've got another idea. Can you listen to this one for a second? But every write I've had in Nashville, has definitely influenced me for the better, I think. Even the ones that were disastrous and I went home crying for sure.
Oh no. Okay.
Because they've happened for sure.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, are you mostly doing your writing on your own now? I mean, outside of these writes, I apologize. I don't know exactly how that works with songwriting, but how are you? What is your process now?
Yeah, I think it's pretty 50-50 now. For a long time, I think when I was first starting out, I was just writing by myself. And then when I got to Nashville, I was just writing with other people. And now I think I've found a pretty good balance of taking time to write just by myself and craft and curate ideas by myself that maybe I will bring into other people. But my process, I think, has always remained very similar. I'm a very hook oriented writer. I love having kind of what that landing point in the choruses or having a fully finished chorus idea, because I look at that as the lighthouse of the song. If you know what your central idea or theme is, then everything else is going to be easier. And it's very rare for me to sit down and write a song from word one, line one. Like I'm always kind of starting in that chorus. But yeah, I think I've really learned the beauty and the balance of doing both, writing a lot by myself and writing with other people.
I wanted, we started to talk a little bit about older artists. And one thing that I've noticed about older artists is that when I talk to them, they have been almost forced to use social media and new content platforms. It's kind of a bolt on to their existing career. And some of them, I mean, they have varying degrees of success. Some of them are really good at it. Some of them, it's like you can tell they hate it and they don't want to do it. One thing I've noticed about you and just I've been learning about you is that you are approaching it with a lot of savvy and forethought. And I'm not going to claim to understand it completely because I also am an old guy. But do you see things like your knowledge and skill with social media, V4V platforms as separate from your music career, or are they just something that is part of what is being a working musician today?
I think every couple of years, or maybe not every couple of years, maybe every decade or so, every 25 years, whatever the number is, something new kind of hits the zeitgeist that all artists, whether or not it's musical artists like me, whether it's filmmakers and actors, something always kind of throws a wrench in how we have been approaching how we distribute and get our art out into the rest of the world. And, I think 10 years ago that was Instagram. And then 5 years ago that was TikTok. And now I think it's very cool that you kind of looked into the V4V and kind of all this other stuff, which is another big part of my story right now for sure. But, definitely with Noster, which is this kind of big new decentralized version of technology that has definitely been something that came out of the woodwork that I, never really would have expected. But I think the success and the magic of the artists who have succeeded are the ones who haven't just stuck with this one thing and said it's going to be this or nothing. I think success comes from doing a little bit of everything so that when something is going off, you have the foresight and the knowledge to know, oh, something's going on with this thing. Let me see if I can scope this out and add this into the routine. Because again, if you just pick one thing and stick with that, odds are that one thing is not going to be the thing that breaks it wide open. So I definitely think the magic comes from ingraining everything, and especially with all this like kind of Noster V for V Bitcoin stuff, it's not really something that I'm just doing by itself. Again, the magic is you do both, and I think the magic comes from the two of them colliding and creating their own little thing.
Yeah, I think for a lot of older artists too, they're not understanding that they are stuck in a certain way of thinking where they think the only way, because streaming is different now. I mean, streaming, nobody, unless you're Taylor Swift, nobody is making a living streaming music. And so a lot of these artists are having to tour long past the point where they want to, and it gets harder and it gets harder. So, I mean, this is kind of a funny question, but do you have any advice for older artists on how they can do this, and how can they dip their toe into this so it's not so frightening?
Yeah, I feel like all the more seasoned musicians are going to be like, who's this 21-year-old punk giving us advice? Who is she?
I got your back. Don't worry.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I would say, especially if you're thinking about dipping your toes into the Noster V for V Bitcoin stuff, my ethos behind it has been the traditional music industry only works for a very select few group of people. And unless you are already a top earning artist for Spotify, like the Taylors, Beyonce's, Ed Sheeran's, what have you, I don't think Spotify and all of the Apple Music and all of the big music industry corporations, they're between you and getting to the top of whatever that I think corporation is, are a million middlemen and gatekeepers. And so if you've been throwing spaghetti at the wall for however long you've been doing it, for me, it's been 6-7 years almost at this point, or maybe almost 10 now. I know I'm young, but I've been at this for a while.
Just blows my mind. I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. I would say if you've been throwing spaghetti at the wall and nothing's been sticking, why wouldn't you try something new? I get it. It's scary. It's weird. But every 10, 25 years, I think something comes out of the woodwork that, the mass populace at first is like, oh, don't go near that because it's all bad stuff, like the internet or Spotify or Napster when it first came out. I know Napster has a bad connotation, but I think you understand the point behind it. Mm-hmm. It changed the game. And so I think early adopters win, and the ones who are willing to take risks and put themselves out there and dance to the beat of their own drum and do what they're going to do, I think that's where success comes from. It's not, you can't just stick to an antiquated system just because tradition is telling you to.
Yeah, it's frustrating to hear them too, because these are people that have been in the business for, long time and have created some really classic music. But because they're not, like you said, these artists, like, I use an older example, like say the Rolling Stones, mm-hmm. Even though they have they have their own niche or they have their own audience, that's not enough to sustain them going forward as musicians. And a lot of people would like to just be musicians, right? It's instead of having to, oh, this is something I used to do and now I have to make money.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think that was a big pressure point for me too, because again, even though I'm young, I've been at this for a while and I have felt almost as jaded, I think, as some of the more seasoned musicians would be about social media too. Like, I think one thing that not everybody knows about social media, or at least how the greater music industry works, is that, in a way, I think a lot of it is still pay to play. Like all these TikTok posts that you see going viral, they have massive ad and marketing dollars behind them. And me, like, I have very supportive parents, but, I don't have uber wealthy parents. My parents have helped me in whatever ways that we can, but and I'm also a 21-year-old girl with no savings, so I'm not, I don't have the funds to throw $1 million behind a TikTok post in hopes that it goes viral, So I've definitely felt that idea of, I didn't sign up to be a content creator. I didn't sign up to post 3 to 5 times a day on social media. Why is the music industry forcing me to be this thing when I'm very much what I thought the music industry was about? I'm a songwriter, I'm a performer, I'm a musician. So I would definitely understand where even the older musicians are coming from when they're like, this social media stuff is crazy. And I'm like, I feel it. I'm an 87-year-old woman inside who doesn't know how to work technology. I don't want to be doing it any more than you do.
Well, let me ask you, I wanted to ask you about your upcoming album.
Yeah.
So you recorded this album, Nicholas Wheeler was producing. So how did you guys connect?
Yeah, so my upcoming album is called Exless, and it comes out on May 9th, and I'm so thrilled about it. But yeah, so I wrote the title track Exless with my friends Nathan Dose and Nick Wheeler, who is, if you don't know, the guitar player for the All American Rejects, which, like, we wrote that song 2 years ago and I'm still pinching myself. But Nathan was the connector in that. He knew Nathan. I don't remember how they met, but he was like, "Hey Ainsley, I've got this guy. Do you want to write with him?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool. Who is it?" He was like, his name's Nick Wheeler from the All American Rejects." And I had a moment where I was like, I know the All American Rejects. It wasn't that I didn't know who they were, but I knew their big hits, but I didn't, I didn't grow up a super fan of them. Like, I didn't know every B-side and every lyric in this. And I think the best thing that I did for myself was not the night before the write. I didn't go down a rabbit hole of like learning everything about him and all about the All American Rejects accolades, because I absolutely would have freaked myself out. But yeah, so eventually I wrote that song with Nick and Nathan, and the minute we finished it, I was like, I don't know what the next project is, but this is absolutely the title track of it. It's just the closest that I've gotten to sonically what I want to sound like, and lyrically what I want to continue to write about.
Yeah, normally we focus on this channel is mostly a power pop or pop rock, guitar pop sound, and it fit perfectly. I listened to it and I'm like, I love this.
Thank you. I love how it turned out too.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs too. It's like I listen to all kinds of music all day long. Whether it's punk or rock or glam. And this is the one that I'm humming when I go to sleep. So
yes, that means I did my job right. When everybody tells me that, I'm like, as a songwriter, that means I'm good. I'm in the clear. I did something right.
Yeah, no, it's that hook. I tell you were really good at that.
Thank you.
Speaking, you said May 9th.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a question, and I don't want to lock you into anything, but I'm curious, where would you like to see people buy your record?
Yeah, I think, so as of right now, there isn't, again, I'm an indie artist. I don't have $1 million behind me to print pressings and CDs and a million things. But if you stream it on Spotify, Apple Music, that would be great. But then also, if you are interested in checking out how to support artists through micropayments and lightning rails, definitely check out Exless on Wavelake and Fountain, which are 2 up-and-coming streaming platforms that I really think are poised to become kind of the next main meccas for how we listen to music. And that's a way for you to directly pay and compensate the artists who are creating art that adds value to your lives. So if you are interested in that, definitely go check out Exless and all of the songs on that project when they are out in their entirety on May 9th on Wavelake and Fountain.
I'll put some links in the show notes so people can find that there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Okay. You ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
Okay. Since it is a power pop channel, name 3 power pop albums that you think everyone should hear at least once.
Power pop albums. The Loveliest Time by Carly Rae Jepsen, Faith by George Michael, and a third one, power pop, Paramore's self-titled record.
Nice. Okay. Faith by George Michael. I'm going to It's been a while since I listened to that, but that is a great album. Yeah.
It's a great record. I got on a huge George Michael kick about a couple of years ago when I was really in the thick of writing this album, and he's just one of my favorite artists of all time, for sure.
If you had to reimagine any classic song in a totally unexpected genre, what song would you pick and how would you transform it?
Ooh. I don't know if this is like a classic song because it came out within the last 10 years, but one of the songs that I put my own spin on and when I cover at some of my live shows is Positions by Ariana Grande. But you know, my band and I kind of do it in this kind of slow jam Tori Kelly kind of fashion where, you know, I'm just on the acoustic guitar and it's a synth pop song, right? So that's something that I really love to do. But I think maybe classic, I really love, and this is where it's going to show that I grew up with a purist musician as a father. One of my favorite songs is Rain in the Summertime by The Alarm. And so I think I would love to reimagine that song or like go over and do some shows in the UK and play that song. Oh, that would be awesome.
Oh, I love that. I'm sorry. I don't know a lot of people my age that remember The Alarm. So I think that's wonderful. Props to your
Thank
dad
you.
there.
Yeah, for sure. My dad is just an infinite knowledge. Like you should check out the CD collection my parents have downstairs in our studio. It could rival the National Library of Congress, like truly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Oh, and you know, speaking of The Alarm, I just want to tell you if you never watched a live performance from them, check them
Ooh.
out.
I
Check them
might
out.
need to do that. I think I've maybe watched a couple in passing, but
Yeah.
they truly are one of like my favorite classic kind of like 80s pop bands that I think or pop rock bands that I think set the tone for a lot of my favorite artists today and the music that I kind of want to make. So,
Oh, completely unexpected answer. I love that. Okay. You open for any band in history. Who is it?
um I think if I were going with a band today, I would love to open up for the band Camino, but I think going back to other bands that I've loved, I think I would have loved to open for U2, maybe Queen, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. It's not too late for you too. So
Yeah, I could open for them at the Sphere. That's like their stomping ground now in Vegas. And I've got a show in Vegas in May, so it could happen.
you do. When's your show in Vegas?
It is sometime the week of the 21st. I don't know exactly when. You know, my mom, who is my manager, my parents are very involved in what I do. My mom is kind of just like, hey, you have a show in Vegas, get in the car, we're going to go play. And I'm like, cool, I don't know what day, I don't know what time it is, but I will be playing at the Bitcoin conference for sure. I'll be playing. They're very nice to say that I'm headlining the whale party or the Bitcoin golf tournament. So I will be in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference if anybody's into the whole tech nerdy side of what else I'm into.
What album best represents your teenage years?
Ooh, probably Unbreakable Smile by Tori Kelly. That was the first album that I heard, you know, besides, again, I grew up on Taylor. So, of course, like my first concert was Red. I loved 1989. But I think the Unbreakable Smile album was the first time that I heard something besides kind of like the mainstream synth pop stuff. And it gave me this idea of, oh, there's other things that I can do if I don't just want to do like the main pop girly thing. So that album is really special to me for sure.
Okay, you get to collaborate with an artist from a completely different genre. Who is it? And what kind of song would you guys do?
I would love to do I would love to do a feature on like an R&B song or like an R&B rap song. One of the I had a little bit of an experience with this a couple of months ago. I'm involved in this kind of like writing camp slash publishing house here in Nashville, and me and my friend Emily, we wrote the chorus over this track that our friend Coldway had made, and he is an incredible artist. And I sang over the chorus on it, and it turned out to be so cool, and I think it would just be um, an awesome little taste breaker in my catalog. So I think I'd love to do that with like a maybe like a Don Tolliver kind of artist or like Leon Thomas, who's kind of having a moment right now. I love him. I love his music.
If your music were an animal, what would it be and why?
Ooh.
I told you these questions were dumb.
No, I love it. I think my music would probably be a penguin because, you know, penguins are, you know, they're short and sweet, They're kind of loud. They're a little clumsy sometimes. And I think if that doesn't sum up me as a person and also the kind of music that I write, like short, to the point, kind of loud, kind of in your face and obnoxious sometimes. That makes sense.
I'll take it. I love it. So, okay, this question's too dumb. I'm not even going to ask it. Let's see. What song do you belt out when no one's watching? And then I'll tell you mine.
Ooh, I've got a lot. I think one of the ones I'm currently on right now is The Wizard and I from Wicked. I'm a big theater kid, if you can't tell. What's
Very
yours?
nice. Okay. Toxic by Britney Spears.
Love it. Absolutely.
I am at the same time oddly proud and deeply ashamed that is.
Hey, Britney is awesome. I think she's a phenomenal artist. And you can't tell me those songs were huge for a reason, because they're great songs at the end of the day, for sure.
They're so much fun. It's another one of those that it's just like, first time I heard it, it's like, that's a great song. And it just stuck. And then I realized I had the superpower of belting out at karaoke. So
I love it.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing, Ainsley?
If I weren't doing this, which is funny because I actually wrote a song about that. I like to think that I would be either an Egyptologist or a biological archaeologist.
Okay, you have to explain this.
I think every girl, or maybe just every person outside of what they normally do has a special interest. For like some girls, when you're growing up, it's like you get really interested in the Titanic and you want to go visit the Titanic. Or it's like you get super fascinated by Joan of Arc and her whole story. Me, I was obsessed with ancient Egypt growing up, and I still am. Like, I'm like following all these all the news about how they just found like these massive pillars under the pyramids and how they might have found Cleopatra's tomb and everything. And so when I was in elementary school, the only books that I would check out from the library were books about like mummies and ancient Egypt, which my parents were like, is she okay? Is there something up with this one? But I've always just been fascinated by it. And I think I would love to be an Egyptologist or a biological archaeologist, because getting to look at mummies all day, that is my dream.
Okay.
I know you probably wouldn't expect like the dream outside of music for like someone who looks like a sparkly bottle of Pepto to be looking at like 3,000-year-old dead bodies, but hey, I'm just being honest, man.
That's what I want. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, the album comes out in a couple weeks or in a few weeks. What's next for you this year? You going to go on tour?
Yeah, I always have shows coming up for sure. I'm playing a show in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in the next couple of weeks, which I'm hyped about, and then I'll be in Vegas in May. And then I'm always all over for sure. I've got some shows in New York in July, which I'm always super hyped about, but I would not be surprised if there is an actual kind of like scheduled out Exless tour that is happening. There's a lot of stuff in the works that I'm really excited about.
Are you playing a lot around Nashville too?
I weirdly don't really play a lot around Nashville, because I think that one of the things that the music industry says is like, don't really play in Nashville until like you can play the Ryman or you can play some of the bigger venues here, because in Nashville, odds are a big crowd of people who you're going to get to come into your shows are your friends or they're other musicians until you've actually built up a good following. So I don't play a ton in Nashville. I only play when it really serves my purpose. Like I could go out and do writers rounds every night, but I don't really know how much that serves my purpose at this given moment. So I don't really play around Nashville, which is a very long-winded answer to a very simple question you asked me.
No, it's great. Will you come up to Seattle again, do you think?
Yes, actually, here's the thing. I just remembered this. I'm playing a show at the Spanish Ballroom in Tacoma on July 2nd, which I'm very, very excited about, because that was one of my bucket. I am. It was one of my bucket list venues when we first lived there, and it just worked out. One of my my best friend's sisters is getting married in Ellenton, and so of course we're going back up to Seattle. And because I don't know how to take a day off in my life, I'm like, let's do a show, and we go up to Seattle.
That is a great venue. So
it is.
Tacoma's a great town. Oh, that's exciting. Well, I'm going to you might see me there. So
I would love
don't,
to see you in person. That would be awesome.
yeah, don't pretend like you don't know me. Okay.
Of course not. I would never dream of it.
That's awesome. Great. Okay. Well, I gotta tell you, Ainsley, I really enjoyed talking to you. You are delightful. I don't know another word for it. I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to see where you're going. I know we're going to see big things from you. So,
Thank you
and I'm
so
going to tell
much.
everybody I knew you when.
Absolutely. I give you full permission.
Oh,
But thank you so much for having me. This was such a treat, and thank you for asking such wonderful, thoughtful questions for sure.
oh, I've never heard that, but thank you. I'll take it.
Of course, anytime. I've done a lot of these kinds of interviews, and you would be surprised how many like interviews I get on where it's like they ask the same questions over and over again. But this was a lovely change of pace for sure. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come here. I know you were super flexible about scheduling this too, and I really appreciate that as well.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much, Ainsley, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, Bijan.